So I'm putting together this event coming up on August 18th, and what I wanted to do is just grab some brilliant minds inside of the real estate industry, put us all together, and have us share from really what our a strength, a core strength inside of our business. And so what I did was went after those who I really respect at the time, and David Macias is one of those folks inside of the whole real estate world. But in reality, David, if I were to just like pin it, it wouldn't be anything to do with real estate. It would be have to do with the way that your mind works. I love the way your brain works. I think it's a brilliant thing.
I've
And
accepted
so,
that I'm different.
yeah, well, and that's the thing, though. Like, gosh, let's just talk about what you're going to be talking about. Let's just skip fast forward to the point. Is that when I look at what's happening in our world, and I mean like our world, we have come at such a disservice to the reality that we all are created with creativity. Like that slice of creation is inside of each and every one of us, and I think we lose sight of that. And so, coming up on the 18th, I'm going to have a few people talking about different subjects, and your subject is going to be about creativity, bringing creativity inside of our business. And so,
Yeah.
I just want to hear from you when you look at creativity. Where does that really begin to stem from? Where does creativity stem from, especially looking inside of business, right?
Yep. So creativity to me, especially when it comes to business, is we need to redefine what creativity is. But before I redefine it, I'm going to answer your question. So creativity stems from two things. It stems from desperation and relaxation. And oftentimes we're not either of those things. We're right in the middle of those two things. And not desperation.
I'm going to like, hopefully I don't derail your train of thought. Say that again, because I think a lot of people who watch and listen, they're going like, what the heck did you just say? Because I think that was brilliant. Like, say that one more time, because I want it to set in. I want it to sink in.
Yep. So I mean, I say it even in a different way almost. Creation is not something you force, right? It comes from two places: desperation, when you're desperate, or when you're completely relaxed, relaxation.
I love it. Like, that is absolutely correct. Like, that blows my mind right there. So we could just like press pause, stop, and we're good. Like, that's it. Like, grasp that. I want people to grab that. Like, truly understand it. Like, out of desperation or relaxation, that's exactly where creativity comes from. So I'm sorry. Now, like, hopefully you can get back on your train of thought, but like, man, somebody should be writing that down.
Yeah. Well, no, they'll have a chance. And it's not, and then just so you know, forcing is not the same as desperation. Like, it's just desperation of circumstances, right? So we often find ourselves forcing being creative, but that's not desperate. That's frustration. So that's where that middle line is between relaxation and desperation, is forcing it, which is where a lot of people unfortunately land, because we haven't figured out how to train our attitude to trigger a state of desperation or relaxation.
Right. Now, I love that. Okay, so now let's bring because that's highly philosophical, and I think a lot of people are really going to let their brain spin on that a little bit.
Yep.
When I look at creativity, something that I love about who you are inside of this space is that I think we almost have this this disassociation with what creativity is, in the sense that, like, we go, I have to make something just spectacular, or I have to do something really wild, something really interesting. And the reality is that in my world, at least when I look at it, creativity is about taking what is common and making it different, making it better, making it fit inside of the world that we exist in, that our life satisfaction. I think about, like, when I look at what we want to do to try to force creativity, like you just said, it like that, forcing creativity, it's just different. Like, we need to look at what is common, right? That's okay. What is common is okay, but it has to filter inside of me. And that's where I really look at creativity inside of business, is filtering the common into me. And then the output is this creation that I made.
Yep. So this is what I'll be talking about this too, but this is what I meant by we need to redefine what creative is. Okay. So I'll tell you what it isn't, and then I'll tell you what it is.
Beautiful.
What it isn't, right? It's not being original. Originality is not being creative. Right. So you need to release ourselves from that cage of, if I'm being original, I'm being creative. What it is, even at the word itself, it's giving life to something. So that's what I'll be talking about, is how do we, as individuals with our own strengths and weaknesses, give life to something, therefore be creative in something.
So when I look at what happens in business, one of the things that I'm pretty tenacious about, sometimes kind of a bit of an a-hole when I talk about this, is that us performing a task to be able to have to complete something, right?
Yep.
And that completion could be a job well done, it could be a paycheck, it could be a gold star, whatever it is. Like completing a task to get a job well done, that will begin to breed just this dissatisfaction in life. Like we have to be able to start moving towards the things that bring satisfaction into our life. And so when I look at this idea of business, right? Because we're still kind of coming back and tying it into that space. The idea of business is like just to complete a task to get a paycheck does not actually equate to life satisfaction. And I think that's a challenge I think in any industry. I think especially inside of real estate is that we have gone to this place where we emulate so many people instead of like coming to the space of like, what can I do inside of this task to be able to bring satisfaction?
To your point, you're right in that regard, but I always take it one level deeper. I think it's okay to be emulating people. I used to, when a long time ago, I would emulate a guy named Casey Neistat, because I wanted to do a version of Casey Neistat in the real estate world. But what I learned is it's not so much who do I need to copy or who do I need to see as a source of muse. It's why are they a source of muse for me? Like, what is it about their content? What is it about their creativity that speaks to me? And if we can figure out the specific, like so specifically, it's because he's very honest with himself, or it's because he's blah 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 blah. Then you kind of unlock how to translate that into your own business, so to speak.
One of the things I look at, David, that I think has kind of the roadblock for a lot of people is that we tend to not realize where we are strong. Like our strengths is really hard. Our strengths is, I don't think that's the right grammar, but you understand what I'm saying. Our strengths get in the way. Like we don't know how to define our strengths. And therefore creativity almost is, again, kind of coming back to that roadblock. Like until I can start defining how I am strong, it is going to be difficult to do that creativity inside of our business, building something that has that thread or that signature of ourselves inside of it. Does that make sense?
You said it, and you just said it when you said that thread or signature of ourselves, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to what is my voice and the action that I'm doing right now. And that's where the creativity really blossoms, when you find your voice. Now, when I speak to this, I'm going to be very specific that it doesn't have to be an artistic, creative expression.
Right. No, that's
something that we kind of are like, forcing ourselves to think. Especially in business, there are more ways to be creative that are just as valid as artistic expression, like creative solution making, creative integration, creative, the list goes on like that, go on and on. And our voices are in those things. And that's when we kind of unlock that creative field.
One of the quotes that I have kind of always enjoyed when it comes into this creativity space is that creativity is truly taking the overcomplicated and simplifying it, taking the things that are overly complicated and simplifying it. And so if we can begin to, again, to kind of change our minds around what creativity is, I think it adjusts our ability to, like, I guess, embrace creativity. I think we all, again, because we are created, and that's my opinion, because we are all created, we have creativity. It is instilled inside of us. I don't think things are happening by accident. I do think we have creativity inside of us. It's built in us and it's ready to go. It's ready to burst. So yeah, go ahead. Go.
I was going to say part of that, to your point, is because creativity comes from desperation and comes from relaxation. And if we're not used to being in those spaces, maybe desperation, then we intuitively make creativity synonymous with like random just out of the blue, like we just like sparks that just happen. So we always think of creativity as this outside thing that we don't hone in. It just appears when it decides to appear. If that makes a lot of sense. But the real thing is this is why I wanted to speak about artists and speak about creatives that we know are creatives, like painters and stuff. We'll see that they hardly ever have this spark necessarily. They have a lot of small, repetitive, simple actions that at the end of it looks super creative, but in the middle of it, it's what you just said. It's taking something really big and simplifying it.
What's funny is that a lot of people don't realize I was a painting and drawing major in college. That was my thing. I loved it. And so when I look at it, one of the things that I've always had a challenge with is that I truly believe that people should be able to learn to draw. So they should be able to understand value scale. Like how do I create value across a sheet of paper to be able to like create this form, right?
Yep.
I truly believe you should master that skill, because that skill leads to the ability to break that skill and to make it something different. And I go back and I look at somebody like Pablo Picasso, right? If you go Google his early work, just Google him, right? He was masterful at drawing. He was masterful at drawing. It was beautiful, like photorealistic. And as he began to, again, coming into that idea of simplifying it, he mastered the skill that was kind of like the necessity, that basic, that foundational building block. And then he interpreted it and made it in his own as he began to like break apart the images and help us to see things from a different perspective. So, your opinion on that? Do you believe that people should be able to see and learn and own certain skills that are foundational to then be able to break them inside of creativity, or more along the idea of like a folk artist? Folk artists are usually not traditionally trained, and they just have expressed themselves. And so what's your mentality like? I know that I'm using an art analogy, like a painting and drawing analogy, to build into the business space, but looking at that, do you think you just run with creativity, or do you have to build those foundational elements to begin to break those apart to find your creative signature?
To answer your question, and this is kind of already like diving into the points I'm going to make at this event. Okay. There should be, for certain types of personalities, you need to do that proper training, or you should be drawing, and so you can figure out being creative. But I think it's all the same, whether it's for like whether it's the professional stuff or just the, on your own stuff. I think what you're getting at, right? You're doing reps on how to do things the way your mind wants them to do things.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, and this is what I was going to really emphasize at our event, is that we're learning how to correct our mistakes by repetitions. So a lot of creativity, we see it as this final Picasso thing, right?
Yeah.
But we don't see that halfway in that painting Picasso was doing, he messed up, and we don't know how he corrected that mess up that he made. And not all the times that we get to that mess up and we get frustrated or completely end our creativity session because we haven't, or nobody's actually taught us, hey, if you do this, you can actually just cover it up. If you do this, if you go here, you can actually just do this and you'll be just fine. Or tell us, hey, it might be a mess up, but for the grand scheme of things, it's not even that big a deal. And that's the secret, I think, to super creative people compared to people who are kind of more just trying to mimic other people, so to speak. Is that they learned how to push past their own shortcomings and push past their own mistakes for the sake of their message or their voice or whatever they're working on to be accomplished.
It's kind of obviously I'm going to be real cheesy here and quote Macklemore. He goes, "The greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot."
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the sentiment of it. Because like if we really wanted to break down and just kind of take and break the art analogy and just come into business, the first guy to do a buyer's representation agreement, that was creative.
Yep.
The first guy to put an ISA team together, an inside sales agent team together to be able to help generate leads, that was creativity.
That was a creative solution. Yep.
Right. We look at the standards and we look backwards, like just like you said, we look at the backwards and say these things were standard. And yet the evolution of business is not standard. It is wrought with creativity to find the solutions that we need.
And that's why I want to redefine what being creative is, because at the root of it, you said we're creative. At the root of it, I'm saying being creative means giving life and understanding, how am I giving life to this project? How am I giving life to this transaction? How am I giving life? And in that action or really attitude of giving life into something, you'll find your creativity.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said, man. Well, I'm really looking forward to this event. I think it's going to be foundational for a lot of people. When I look at putting these kind of things together, the coolest part is that we all think differently, and coming together to think differently together breeds so much life into things. Kind of coming back to that, which is, I love that that's kind of the definition you put together, because breathing life into it is creativity. And so having the minds around it, having you, having Allison, having Trish, and the people who are around us sponsoring and everything, it's going to be something phenomenal, in my opinion, because people don't think like you, and they need to listen to somebody who thinks differently. because that challenges us to be able to build ourselves and to level up.
I mean, at the end of that, I think we're all doing the same thing. We're telling people that you're not missing or lacking in anything.
Yeah.
We're just trying to teach you that, hey, you're supposed to use it as a wrench, not as a hammer.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And to end in that like little cliche phrase is that like when you look at everything as what is it like if a hammer is your only tool, everything looks like a nail.
Yep.
And it's just expanding your brain into that space to where you can redefine. I love that. I'm really looking forward to really sitting into a space where people will change their mind about what creativity looks like and redefining that. So
I think and people already have, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just kind of like sitting with me real fast, and really looking forward to the event. And so everybody sign up, come and listen to this brilliant brain speak.
Yep. No way. You got some good ones. Wait till you hear Allison.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about everybody who's going to be there. It's going to be really fun.
All right, good deal.
Right, sweet.
Bye.
Okay, cool. All right, I may chop that up. I may just let it run because like
whatever you think.
Take the long form, and I want to find that little clip though that you had, and then maybe like tie it back in. So Google will take a little bit to process it and get it back to me, but I do want to get this kind of processed tonight and sent out. So do you want me to connect you to the raw footage so you can pull it up and do whatever you want to?
Send me like a Google Drive with the raw footage, and I'll just I probably want if you want to do the long form and short form, do that, because I'm probably just gonna find a couple clips.
Yeah, no, I know. Like you do things differently. I want to make sure you have the raw footage to do that. So I'll as soon as it's done recording, I'll just attach it to the file.
Money.
What email do you want on that? What email to attach you to?
Oh, perfect.
No. What email do you? What's the email to?
Yeah, that sounds cool, man. Cool, man. What email?
Yeah.
So let me give you my new ones. David at yourrealtorfriendtx.com. Yourrealtorfriendtexas.com.
Realtorfriend TX.
It's long, but it's easy to say and to remember.
Realtorfriendtx.com.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay. So as soon as it's done processing, I'll shoot it over to you.
Danka. That's pretty cool. I think if you did a little, you don't even have to, but if you did a little version of this with anybody else, it'll.
Yeah, no, I think what I'm going to do is put it together and then say, like, Trish, this is what I want to do with you. Trish actually does really good on this kind of stuff, man. I'm really excited. Do you know her at all?
I may have her on my new home sales days because she looks and sounds very familiar.
No.
Is she like is she League City?
She's Fulshire.
Fulshire. Oh no, then I do know her from Fulshire. Yeah, never mind. That's why I know Trish.
Yeah.
I'm sure we communicated.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sweet. Well, let me get this done and get it chopped up.
Bye-bye.